Today we are going green. Hi, this is Dorothy Whitfield, and thank you for joining me on the Sane Mom. Do you want to go green and you want to make the transition as easy as possible for you and your family? Have you already started making the transition and you want to discover more ways to live green? My guest Lillian Brummet is the co-author of the book Trash Talk and has the answers to making living green easy. One thing that I was really curious about that we kind of discussed through emails is the family-friendly the eco-friendly family activities. So I was like, okay, I would really, because I have kids, I like family activities. I like getting outdoors. What can we do that is safe for the environment?
Well, there are several things that we can do. One of my favorite activities to do with my nephews when they're visiting my nephews and nieces is we go hiking or biking or canoeing. And while we're out there, we'll gather up the garbage and we'll compare it. And it becomes like this treasure hunt. The kids really get into it and they're like, ooh, look what I found. And sometimes it's a real treasure, like a pair of sunglasses or binoculars that someone dropped or something like that. And that can be a real treasure for them to find. But otherwise, they walk away from that event and they feel, wow, I really did something. I made a difference. I cleaned up that trail. And they'll talk about it for weeks afterwards. They'll go to their classroom, they'll go online, they'll talk about it. They get really excited about it. And that's one of my favorite activities. So if you're out to the beach or a park or something like that, get everybody running around and doing it. And there's no age limit. I mean, I get excited about it. I'm 43 and I get excited about it. I'm out there with my bag picking up stuff and going, ooh, look what I got out of there. And, you feel really good about using the green space because you left it better than when you arrived.
Thank you. That is an awesome tip because that actually helps me with how to get the kids involved in living green. If you have not been living that way and then all of a sudden you want to make a transition, do you have any other tips as far as things that you can do to help your kids transition to living green?
Absolutely. There are so many. I mean, we could do the whole show on this alone, but there are a lot of crafts that people can do that involve reuse. And by doing so, you can have these conversations while you're doing it. And this is really important that you talk about how this item would have been thrown away or would have been put into the recycling system, but now we found another use for it. And here we're able to do this together as a family, and they're able to start changing their thinking pattern from seeing this item as this icky piece of garbage waste to something like, oh, what can I do with that? What can I make out of it? What kind of toy or art or reusable item can I do with that? And they start changing their thinking. And that's the most important first step when it comes to living green is changing our thinking about waste and realizing that it's not this piece of garbage that we need to hide and throw away in the landfill. It's an actual resource. It really is a resource, and it really does create jobs right here in our own community. So we need to start just simply by changing that thinking pattern.
How long have you been living green?
Well, I've been living green since I can remember, but I didn't grow the passion until until actually I was running a business, and I was focused on running my business as green as possible, which was fairly unique then. We're talking about 20, 25 years ago. And I was focused on having the right kind of supplies and the right kind of materials, and I wanted to know where they were coming from. And this created a communication with my clients that they were not formally aware of. And that really sparked my interest in getting out there and educating people. And so once I started on that, well, all the research and the book reading and all the, interacting with the organizations and the amazing groups and organizations that are out there, it just grew from there. One of my clients actually, she was of the very upper middle class. You wouldn't call them elite, but they had a big house on the lake kind of people. And she was actually very embarrassed to go to recycled shops like thrift stores to buy thrift secondhand clothes for her kids or secondhand Halloween outfits and things like that. She was ashamed that someone would see her. She had this false pride issue involved there because her husband was a financial advisor. And so she thought if she's seen shopping out there, what are his clients going to think? What are their friends going to think? You know, all of that, right? But then as soon as recycling became hip and it was seen as the thing to do in her neighborhood and that, you know, it just came into the neighborhood where they're putting the box on the curb. Well, you know what? She had to make sure that her curb or her box was on the curb just so that her neighbors would see that she's also participating in this. And that was sort of it was a lighthearted way for me to see that, you know, we really need to educate people. We need to get people to change their thinking patterns. And so I started when I started in my career as a writer, one of the very first assignments that I had with a writer's course that I was taking was to write an article about something that I'm really passionate about that could be turned into a column. So I did. And I wrote this article, and sure enough, instantly it was picked up as a column. It ran for 6 years straight internationally, and it developed into the book that you have in your hand right now, the book one that you have in your hand
Yes,
right now.
and compliments to you because people need to read this book. This is a very thorough book, and it covers, I would say, everything, because anything that you can think of, it covers it. So it is definitely a handy book that parents need to have in their library.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know, there's lots of things that parents can get involved in when it comes to getting their kids involved and getting their classrooms involved, the groups that their kids are involved in. There are a lot of reuse and recycle centers that they can participate in. So what I mean by this is there's teachers who have a certain center in their community where all the teachers can go there and they can get all kinds of different kinds of supplies for their different activities. And that can be everything from egg cartons to clean yogurt cups and the list is endless. So these items are valuable, bits and pieces of ribbons and buttons and everything you can think of. Basically, these teachers can use in their craft projects, and it saves the school money. And it encourages kids all over the place, all over the whole community to get involved in it. And you also extend that life of that item. Once they've done their craft piece with it, it can often be sent into the recycling bin after, but they can reuse it in the meantime. So that's another thing that we can really get involved in and directly reduce the amount of waste that we're having to recycle or put on the curb.
Would you say that it's an easy transition to start living green for parents? They're so busy, they're running around with the kids. How is it when if somebody has the frame of mind, okay, I'm adding one more thing that I have to do to my list, what would you say to that parent to encourage them to say, okay, this is an awesome thing?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think the very most important thing when it comes to living green is just to start with recycling. We could talk about all the different R's. There's 7 different R's in regards to zero waste management. But the very first one that I think is the easiest for people to get on board in is the recycling. So what they need to do is go onto their city website or community website and learn about what is being recycled in their area. There's going to be reuse centers, there's going to be used stores, there's going to be charity stores that raise funds for your local hospital or your local food bank by selling usable items that you don't need anymore. There's lots of different information about each community, about what they're able to recycle. Every area is going to be slightly different because of their location to the larger processing facilities. For instance, in our area, we're not able yet to recycle styrofoam, or polystyrene foam is another term for it. And yet in other areas, you can recycle that. So it's important to be aware of what you can recycle in your area and where you can either take it or have it picked up at your curb. So I would start there. But if they want to get involved, like with their teachers or classes or youth groups, they can either contact them directly and find out what they would like to have. That's most important, that you just don't walk in there with a box of whatever. Find out what they want first, and then you can start collecting it. Get your family and friends and neighbors and other children's friends involved in the collection process, and you're able to support those organizations in that way. Or you can go online and you can look at organizations like earthforce.org or planetpals.com. Kids for Saving Earth, that's a really good website. Inspector Green is another one. Those are some of my favorites for getting kids and families involved in living green.
How can we change our shopping habits or make a little shift in our shopping habits? In what ways do we need to do that to support living green?
Okay, well, that really starts with reconsidering our own personal impact. That's one of the R's, is reconsidering. So our own personal impact is absolutely huge, especially from the consumer level. So if we're out there shopping and we're concerned about the kind of packaging, how much packaging, the end of life of that product, that means like when that product is no longer working, such as a toaster oven, is there a take back program from the manufacturer? Is it recyclable in your community? Those kinds of things. So you're looking at the end of life as well as, buying the product itself. Is it energy efficient? How is it made? Where was it made? These kinds of things really do make a difference. So if it costs you a few extra pennies to purchase paper that has recycled content, isn't that worth it for the future of your kids? So it's all in how we decide to purchase. And I always like to encourage people by saying, every time you pull out every penny out of your wallet, it's a vote as to the direction that the future of society is going to go. So this is the power that you have as a consumer. I mean, manufacturers, they have entire businesses, entire groups dedicated to watching what we're spending, where we're spending it, and they're changing their manufacturing and advertising efforts to accordingly. So we are having an impact. It's just deciding what kind of impact that's going to be.
So letting the parents know that your money talks.
That's right.
Trash talks and your money talks. So if you want your environment to change and be better for your kids, the air to be better for your kids, the water, which affects your food, because I'm a documentary person and I've seen some documentaries. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I want to eat anything in the water anymore based off of some of these things I've seen. So parents, your money talks, and we have a lot of say. We have the money, we have a lot of say. So speak with your money and speak with your actions. And you have awesome people out there that are showing us the way and making it easy. You have to get trash talk. Making it easy, because it's easy. Making it easy for us to help our kids and show them the way, and for us to live green. And it's fashionable to live green. It's chic to live green. So don't be ashamed. Go to the thrift store, because you can find some awesome finds in the thrift store. So it's no shame in thrift stores. It's retro, vintage.
That's right. And you never know what that thrift store is supporting. Maybe it's supporting your local food bank, or maybe it's supporting the soup kitchen in your area, or maybe it's supporting the hospital auxiliary program, or, there's a lot of amazing thrift stores out there, and secondhand stores and secondhand parenting shops where they sell, used cribs and things like that are still, under proper regulation and things like that. And you just never know where that money is going to go. So you're creating jobs, and that money also supports other worthy causes in your area.
I'm glad you said that about creating jobs, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are looking for jobs and the causes that these thrift stores are supporting. Because sometimes when you're out there and you're busy and you get consumed in your world, you don't necessarily think about, okay, where I'm shopping is helping someone in their community and helping someone with their job. So I'm really glad that you said that, because a lot of us it'll help a lot of us change our thinking about, where we spend our money, and where we're showing our support by where we spend our money. So I'm glad that you shared that.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like that. And recycling is the same thing. You know, recycling creates, actually, there's been a thousand-fold increase in jobs in the recycling industry. There are created more, something like 10 more jobs, 10 times more jobs in the recycling industry than there are being created in other waste management industries, such as landfill and things like that. So landfill and incinerator and other not so eco-friendly. So if we just participate in that alone, we're creating local jobs.
Thank you. Oh, it has been awesome speaking to you. Now, do you have anything else that we need? I know you have a lot because your book is, it's like, okay, I got to take notes. You're going to highlight, you need to print it out, highlight it, mark some notes and say, okay, let's do this, and just go down the list and take one step at a time. But do you have anything that's just on your heart that's like, okay, if I don't share anything else, I want to share this with you?
Well, you know, I think that people don't realize how much money they can save simply by the reuse, repurpose, upcycling. Those are terms that are used in the industry that basically say the same thing. You're taking an item and you're seeing the value of it and you're turning it into something else. So this might involve taking a peanut butter container and turning it into a container for your screws or nuts and bolts or nails in the workshop, or it might be cutting it into a plant pot or turning it into a little greenhouse cosh for your tender plants when you're having frosts or whatever it ends up being. It can become, as you see in our book, there's, you know, hundreds of reuse ideas for just about every item in there. And so you can save a lot of money. Really, you can save a lot of money by reusing and repurposing and upcycling. So I would encourage people to consider that.
Thank you, thank you, and thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to share your wisdom about living green.
You're welcome.
Are you ready to jumpstart your career as a writer? Award-winning author, radio host, and blogger Lillian Brummet has a special offer just for the Sane Mom community. Visit thesanemom.com for details. Like this video? Then comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Want more tips and stories from moms like you? Visit thesanemom.com and sign up for email updates. Until next time.